If you are checking out Hennessy hammocks for backpacking and you're wondering how you're going to keep your backside warm, then this video will compare and contrast the Hennessy SuperShelter and the Hennessy Radiant Bubble Pad as different alternatives for keeping warm at night. They both have their pluses and minuses, and it's not an easy choice, so I'll go over the differences between the two quite extensively. Hey campers, this is Kurt Papke coming to you from the Santa Catalina Mountains. I backpacked two Hennessy hammocks up here to show you the differences between the Hennessy SuperShelter that uses this open cell foam pad and the Radiant Double Bubble Pad that goes with the double layer Jungle Explorer Hennessy hammock. The SuperShelter I've used for over 8 years, mostly in Minnesota on the Superior Hiking Trail, Border Route Trail, Kikakabic Trail, etc. The Hennessy Explorer and the Radiant Bubble Pad is a little bit newer. I use that as part of a 4-month test for backpackgeartest.org, and use that in California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado, and of course here in Arizona. So what I'm going to do today here in my campsite in the mountains is set up these two hammocks with their insulation systems and compare and contrast the two of them for you so you can see the differences and make a determination if one or the other is a fit for you and your uses. Got my hammock mostly set up enough where I can put the SuperShelter in, and I always store the open cell foam pad in one of these Sea to Summit 8-liter sleeping bags. Fits in there real nice and protects it both physically from any damage and also from water, of course. Okay, the first thing you'll notice about the open cell foam pad is that it is not a rectangle. Okay, it's wider on the shoulders and then narrows at the feet. And you'll also see I've developed over the last 8 years a few little holes in this thing, but doesn't seem to affect the performance at all. Still works just fine. But the wide end obviously goes at the head end, which on this hammock today is to my right. And I know that because of this is a traditional Hennessy hammock with the bottom entry. So once you get the pad in there, you just bring the elastics out and hook it on the hook. And bring the elastics out on the other side. They go through the bottom of the undercover. SuperShelter consists of the open cell foam pad and the undercover, and there it is. The egg crate portion is on the top side, and the smooth part of that is on the bottom, and then you can just get your hammock situated on top of that and you are good to go. Entry and egress is through the bottom here. You just shove the pad off to the side, and you're all set. You can come in and go. The side elastics here go through this little hole and attach to the pullouts here. The side elastics for the pad just go through that little hole, and then the side pullouts for the hammock go right through there. Or you can feed these side elastics through the hole and then out here. Okay, now we're ready to set up the the Explorer with the Radiant double bubble pad. And one of the nice things about this guy is you don't have to use the space blanket because it's already silverized. It's already a vapor barrier and an infrared reflective surface. Now, similar to the open cell foam pad, this actually has a very similar shape. It's wider at the top, narrower at the bottom, and similarly there's two small tie-outs. And the hammock, the important thing to know about the hammock, there's two slits, and the larger slit is actually at the head end right here. And so I find it easiest to insert this at the head end, and I do it foot first. So in goes the pad. One of the other nice things about the double bubble pad is it's stiff enough that you can kind of push it through the hammock. So the open cell foam pad is not easy to push around. You pretty much have to pull. So you use the smaller opening here for the foot end. There's a small tie out here. One of the issues I had with this product was the small elastic band and mitten hook kept falling off the pad, and eventually I lost it, but it was trivial to replace it with a little piece of cordage, in this case an S-beaner. So just attach that there, and then make sure that it's spread out properly on the inside. One of the other things that takes a little bit of getting used to with this is the Radiant bubble pad kind of develops creases after a while. It kind of develops a memory for how it's been folded. And so now I'm attaching the tie-off, the side tie-out on the head end here. So the Radiant pad develops a little bit of memory and sometimes wants to fold over on you. So if you wake up in the middle of the night with cold shoulders or something, chances are that you didn't have it fully unfolded before you hit the hay. And that's all there is to it. This thing is really easy to set up and much less hicky than the regular SuperShelter is with the open cell foam pad. This just goes into place and you are good to go. The other nice thing is because it comes on the side zip hammocks, you don't have to be spreading the cell foam pad aside, off to the side, and then trying to squirm into your hammock around it. This, with the side zip opening, you just plop in there and you are good to go. Morning campers. Just spent last night up here in Romero Canyon on my Hennessy Explorer hammock with a Radiant double bubble pad. And it was nice and toasty. It was about 40 degrees last night. It was fairly chilly. That's pretty typical this time of the year in November up in the mountains here. And that's about what the bubble pad is actually rated for by Hennessy, about 40 degrees. I've had it significantly colder than that. I've taken it down to just under 30 or so, just below the freezing point. And it gets a little chilly at that temperature. Your back is not going to feel nice and toasty warm, but it's certainly doable in a pinch. And you do have to take into consideration I am a bit of a warm sleeper at night. I don't sleep cold, so that may not match your experience. So plan on being able to take this down into the 40s and a little lower than that when needed. Now that's one of the big differences between this approach with the double hammock, double bottom hammock, and the Radiant bubble pad and the SuperShelter is you can take the SuperShelter significantly lower by putting extra insulation down in the undercover. I've used sleeping bags, down coats, extra pads. You can just throw all kinds of stuff. Every piece of clothing you have every piece of insulation you have, you can throw down into that undercover and extend its reach down to the lowest I've taken it is minus 26 below zero on a hike I did with Shug back about 8 years or so ago. That's pretty extreme. I wouldn't recommend that for most people, but hey, you could do it if you have to. So that's one of the major differences between the two, is the SuperShelter can be taken to lower temperatures than the bubble pad. On the flip side, the main advantage of this, from my perspective, is the ease of setup. It's a little bit less hassle to set up than the SuperShelter, and it's also much more appropriate if you think you're going to be going to ground. If you're bringing a true pad with you, not just the Radiant bubble pad, but a regular Thermarest pad or something of that nature, this particular rig will go to ground much better than the SuperShelter will. The open cell foam pad that comes with the SuperShelter really is not something you can sleep on the ground on. It has almost no padding whatsoever. Whereas if you bring a regular pad and use it with a double hammock like this, you can safely sleep on the ground with this with no issues. The weight of the two systems is about the same. The SuperShelter wins by a small amount in terms of size. The SuperShelter can go down to about the freezing point, but can go much lower by adding extra insulation into the undercover, which is quite difficult to do with a double layer hammock. The open cell foam pad of the SuperShelter would seem to be more fragile, but mine's lasted 8 years now without any issues. You have to be a little bit more careful with the SuperShelter under wet conditions, because it is an open cell foam pad and it will retain some moisture. SuperShelter is going to be a bit more expensive than a double layer hammock with the double bubble pad. Finally, I think the SuperShelter has a bit more adaptability. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something that helped you decide if the Hennessy SuperShelter or Radiant bubble pad is right for you. If you did, please leave a comment below, click like on the video, or even better, subscribe to my channel.